What is up, Insaners, and welcome to another video of the Fantasy Premier League 2022-23 season. In this one, guys, we're going to help you with some last minute tips for Game Week 2 before you kind of lock in your teams, confirm your transfers, choose your captaincy. These are some final tips that you should look at. Now, if you like what you see today, make sure that you hit the like button. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more FPL related content, and let's get into it. Now let's start with the first one, the first question, the first tip, or the first dilemma that a lot of FPL managers have for Game Week 2 is what to do with Harry Kane. Now we already know there's enough context to set you in that there are a lot of managers who've transferred out Harry Kane, they've gotten Haaland. It was because of how Haaland performed against a tough West Ham defense, guys. He was really all over the pitch, he scored a couple of goals, he's also on penalties, his expected numbers were really on the roof. So I think there are merits in going for a Haaland instead of a Harry Kane, who was playing a lot deeper. I mean, we've seen that happening last season as well, where Harry Kane was dropping a lot deeper as compared to his normal position. And I think this season, guys, it could continue. I mean, we just have 1 week of data, 1 week of information, so we can't really comment on it a lot. But I think it's probably going to be a similar trend for most weeks. Now, this week, Kane is playing Chelsea. They've not really won against Chelsea at the Bridge since 2018, and Harry Kane doesn't really have a great record against Chelsea. So I think all the directions kind of point towards going for a Haaland, guys. I think Haaland is gonna be playing for a much superior attack. He's gonna get a lot of chances. There is somebody like a KDB who will create chances, who will provide assists for them as well. And I think overall, from what we saw, I think Haaland would be a lot more involved than a Harry Kane, for example. A lot of Man City's attacks are gonna revolve around Haaland, which might not be the case with Harry Kane, considering that they also have a Son, for example, and even a Kulusevski who's risen through the ranks and could share a lot of attacking potential. So the overall gist is that, guys, you should make this transfer. Let's say if you already made this transfer before Harry Kane's price dropped and Haaland's price rose, I think you are in a comfortable position. But in case if you've missed that move, in case if now you can't afford a Haaland in your team, guys, and you probably have to take a hit, for example, I think that is also quite justifiable. The points loss is going to be a lot minimal as compared to what it might happen if you don't have a Haaland in your team, guys. So yes, you're taking a hit, but I think in this case the hit is absolutely justified. Going for Kane was not a wrong decision, but what we see in terms of whatever information we have right now, I think Kane to Haaland is the right way to go. In spite of taking a hit, I mean, you still have to consider which player you're taking out and are you comfortable taking that player out, and which one are you getting in, and what is the attacking potential, what is the scoring potential of that particular player, guys. You can of course do downgrades in midfield, you can downgrade your defense, but really depends on which players etc you're going for. But I think this move is pretty much viable. A lot of people will captain him, so his ownership is going to be very high. I think you should do the move. Now coming to the second question, what should you do in Game Week 2? Should you use your wildcard in Game Week 2? Now guys, I think there's not a lot of information that we have in just one game week. I mean, we can still make certain patterns, we can understand certain positionings of certain players, team structures, and how the overall team is performing, and which players are really probably going to blow up in terms of FPL. But then again, you can't really draw a lot of conclusions unless you've got your team horribly wrong, where you probably don't have 4 to 5 high potential, high value players that could really score a lot of FPL points. I think a wildcard can wait. There's not a lot of information right now to kind of make your wildcard team, and I'm pretty sure even if you make one, it's probably not going to be very different from the template team or from a team which has majority of the popular picks, right? So I think the wildcard can wait. I think game week 3 maybe could be a better play, or maybe even some weeks down the line where you have a lot more information which you can act upon. So save the wildcard, don't use it just yet. Don't panic if you've had a bad game week 1 score. There could be a lot of changes that could happen. And I understand the appeal of a wildcard because you probably can get someone like a Darwin Núñez, for example, on a wildcard. But then there will be certain downgrades that you'll have to kind of make. You'll have to let go of maybe a premium defender. Maybe you let go of an 8 million midfield spot. So you take those decisions into account. You take the information that you have in account. And if your wildcard team is not very different from your actual team, then you should definitely wait and use it in later weeks. Coming to the third dilemma, the third question, and I know a lot of people are kind of looking into this direction, is which Man City midfielder to go for, guys. I know a lot of people weren't really happy with how Mount played. I mean, all of a sudden people are thinking that Saka might not be the optimal 8 million midfielder, or they have somebody else who they're not happy with. So they're looking at an 8 million Man City mid who could be an optimal play here, but again, it's very, very risky. You have the likes of Foden, Mahrez, who could be options. You also have Grealish, for example, who's 7 million, so you'll end up saving 1 million. But are these picks really worth it? Guys, to be honest, right now, maybe not. Reason is that we're not still sure who's the nailed player in that Man City midfield, guys. In terms of these white players like Foden, like Mahrez, we still don't know what's going to happen there. Yes, we can all make certain predictions in terms of whether Foden's going to be a regular starter. Considering that he's more versatile, considering that he can play on the left as well as on the right, he might be a favorite for Pep. He might be a better play in their overall structure with Haaland. But again, all of these are just predictions. I think we need more information there. So it is very risky to go for a Man City midfielder, a Man City 8 million midfielder. But in case if you have to go one, guys, I still feel Foden is probably the optimal play here. He's probably the better pick, slightly better pick than somebody like a Mahrez, who's not gotten a lot of minutes. I mean, even if he's gotten minutes, he's not really done enough to kind of impress Pep to put him into that system. So I think if I have to go for one, I'll go Foden. But the desired midfielder, or probably the midfielder that you want, is probably KDB, guys. But again, KDB is at such a difficult price point. He's 12 million odd. So you're not really going for a pick who's very cheap or who's high value and all of that, and you can easily fit him into your team. So I think KDB is going to be a tough pick. But then again, if you have KDB, of course you hold him. Of course, he's also a differential captaincy option, which could be a great thing to do. Let's say if you don't have a Salah or if you don't have a Haaland, of course, no need to be scared because KDB is still a decent option to go for. But yes, there could be a lot of points lost. But I think the overall consensus here is that Man City mids can wait a little bit. If you want to go for one, you go Foden. If you have KDB, don't need to worry. You should stick with him and even put him as your captain if you don't have a Salah or Haaland. Now let's talk about the next question. Another very important question for this week, guys, is it worth saving a transfer this week? Now I think we still have just 1 week of information. We can't really draw a lot of conclusions from it. So in case if you can easily save your transfer, I mean, you don't really have any fires to put out. You've not gone for certain players who are maybe not starting. And in that case, if you don't even have a bench to cover, guys, I think there is high value in saving a transfer because in game week 3, you'll end up having 2 free transfers. You'll end up having 1 more week of information. So there's a lot to gain if you can save your transfer. But again, if you still want to take some risks, if you want to get in a Zinchenko, for example, maybe a Martinelli, if you see a lot of value there, if you want to take a risk and go for a Man City midfielder as well, the 8 million midfield spot, I mean, you can absolutely do that because there is no one way of playing FPL. And I think you can still absolutely nail that decision. But it's just that saving that free transfer, getting more information looks like the safer play here. And if you're a Maverick manager, maybe this is probably not the right call for you. But I think most of the managers are looking to save one free transfer because they will get more information, they'll get more idea. And then in game week 3, you can jump onto certain bandwagons, certain assets that might be really good in the short term or maybe even the long term. Now we'll come to the next dilemma and the next question that a lot of managers have this week as well is that which are the best 8 million options to go for, the 8 million midfield options to go for in Game Week 2, guys. Now I know a lot of people went for Saka, a lot of people went for a certain Mount, maybe Kulusevski. I mean, Mount and Kulusevski were differential options. And then you also have the Man City mids, Maddison as well. So there are a lot of options at 8 million price bracket. But I think, guys, in general, whichever option you've gone for, all have decent fixtures. I mean, yes, somebody like a Kulusevski is facing a Mount, for example, so that could be a bit challenging, could be a bit of an issue. But I think, again, as I said earlier, I think the underlying theme of this whole video is that you probably need more information, you need more idea, more statistics, more data to kind of take an informed decision. And I think whichever 8 million midfielder you have, I think it's probably better to hold that particular option. You can hold Saka, you can hold Maddison, you can even hold somebody like a Mason Mount against a Tottenham defense. I mean, there's a chance that he might do well. So we can't be absolutely certain that, these kind of players are probably going to have a bad game. I also don't understand the appeal of people buying Kulusevski. Yes, he could still do well. But I mean, it's Chelsea. It's going to be a tighter defense. It's going to be a tough game for Spurs as well. So he could be a better option from game week 3. But personally, and this is a very personal opinion here, I don't understand the appeal of Kulusevski. So my overall gist here is that whatever 8 million, in case if you have gone for an 8 million midfielder, and whosoever you've gone for, I think all of them are perfectly capable holds this week, guys. And in case if you don't have an 8 million midfielder, you're trying to adjust some funds, you're trying to kind of downgrade elsewhere and then fit in this 8 million midfield spot, you don't have to do it this week, guys. I mean, it's not a must. There is no one standout option that you have to go for. So you don't need to alter your entire team, take everybody out and then kind of fit in this 8 million midfield spot for this week. So in short, if you have an 8 million midfield spot, whosoever you have, you hold them this week. In case if you don't have that spot available and if you're trying to kind of make inroads and make transfers towards it, you should probably not do it. Wait for one more week. Maybe in game week 3, you take a different call, but get more information. Now coming to the final dilemma, probably the most important dilemma for this game week is that who should be your captain for game week 2? I mean, should it be Haaland? Should it be Salah? Should you look at some differential options to probably gain a lot of rank, considering that you've probably had a poor start in game week 1? Now guys, I think it's gonna be very, very close. Probably one of the most closest decision options already that we have in this season. I think it's very close between Salah and Haaland. I prefer both of them as compared to some other options, like let's say for example a KDB, maybe a Darwin Núñez as well, right? Who could be a great differential, who could have a huge haul this week against Palace at home. But I feel it's going to be very close between Haaland and Salah. I slightly feel that Haaland is a better captaincy option, considering that he's going to be involved a lot more. I mean, we still have to see how Darwin Núñez's positioning kind of interferes with Salah's play. Does it really interfere a lot? Does it make it better? Does it make it worse? We still don't know that. I mean, we still don't even know whether Núñez is going to start this game week or not. But with Haaland, guys, I'm pretty sure we're going to get at least 70 odd minutes. If City are completely dominating the game, he might be hooked off at around 70-75 minutes. But he has the potential to absolutely go big, guys. I mean, he can score a brace, he can even score a hat-trick. He's going to be involved a lot in the Man City attack. I mean, that's something that we can be absolutely sure of, considering what we saw in that West Ham game. So I think a lot of people are going to go with Haaland, especially a lot of people who are doing this Kane to Haaland switch. I think a lot of people are going to go for that captaincy move. He's going to be slightly more popular than somebody like a Salah for this week in terms of captaincy. So if you take into account effective ownership and how many people are captaining Salah, and you probably are going to go a bit defensive, going to go a bit safer, I think Haaland is probably the slightly better pick. But having said that, Salah is still a decent pick to go for, guys. I know a lot of people are throwing in narratives on Twitter that Salah doesn't score in game week 2. Yes, statistically, weirdly enough, that has kind of happened in the past. But at the same time, he still has a great record against Crystal Palace in the last 6 games. I mean, he's got a lot of attacking returns. So anything would happen, right? So you can't really say that, Salah's probably going to blank because that's what he does. Both of them are decent options, guys. If you just have one of them, I think the decision's pretty clear. If you have Haaland, you captain him. If you have Salah, you captain him. If you don't have both, for example, I mean, try to get in at least one and captain them. But in case if you're already committed to a strategy, if you can't go there, you probably captain KDB, who's also a great option this week. You can even captain Darwin Núñez. I know it's a bit of a risk considering that he might not play the whole game. He might not even start the game. But we've seen that in the past. We've seen in the last couple of games that he has the potential to go absolutely crazy, absolutely big, even coming from the bench. And that could also happen this week. I mean, you could still end up with 10-15 points. And that could be great from a captaincy perspective. But to summarize, I think if you want to go a bit safer, you go Haaland if you have him. If you want to still back Salah, I think you can still do that. But he's still slightly second or the number 2 in terms of captaincy this week. In case if you want to go for a differential, I think KDB is the one to go for if you have him. You don't captain Tottenham attackers or any other players. I think Liverpool and Man City are the teams that you should probably target in terms of captaincy. And these attackers should be your option. So that'll be it from my side, guys. I hope you found this video useful. I hope I was able to help you in terms of at least thinking what should be the answer to some of those dilemmas and what should you do in terms of your overall thinking, overall transfers before the deadline. If you like this video today, if you like this concept, guys, make sure that you hit the like button. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've been doing daily FPL content since this week, guys, and I think it's going to continue for some time now. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you check out our channel as well. Now we'll be back in a couple of hours for the Game Week 2 deadline stream, guys. So if you're interested, if you still have some more thoughts, if you still have some more doubts, if you want to just join us, just catch up with us, you can do that on the deadline stream. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in Sainers next time.